the biography of Noah. Dive into the epic story of Noah, who with unshakable faith built the ark to save creation from a divine flood. His legacy, marked by obedience and renewal, resonates as a call to hope and the promise of a new beginning for humanity. Noah is a prominent figure within the biblical context, known mainly for his role in the flood story narrated in the book of Genesis. This character is a pillar of faith and obedience, whose story has been passed down through generations as a testimony to the relationship between God and humanity. The name Noah comes from the Hebrew noach, which means rest or comfort. In the biblical account, this name is interpreted by his father Lamech, who prophesies that Noah will bring relief from the labor and painful toil caused by the curse that God placed on the earth after Adam and Eve's sin. The meaning of the name symbolizes the hope for redemption and restoration in a world marked by sin and separation from God. Noah is placed in the 10th generation after Adam, in a period characterized by the increase in human population and the proliferation of sin. Noah's genealogy connects him directly with Adam through figures such as Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, and Lamech, highlighting a lineage that, according to the scriptures, maintained a close relationship with God amid an increasingly distant humanity from its creator. This genealogical context not only establishes Noah's importance in the biblical narrative but also underscores his legitimacy and purity as chosen for the preservation of life on earth. The story of Noah before the flood unfolds in a world that, according to the scriptures, was deeply corrupted and filled with violence. The divine decision to send a flood was not arbitrary but a response to the omnipresent evil on the earth. The time before the flood is described in the Bible as a period of great moral and spiritual depravity. Humans, having multiplied in number, showed a constant inclination towards evil in their hearts. This decay was not only evidenced in their actions but also in the corruption of creation itself, including the earth and all living creatures. Violence and injustice had become so prevalent that God regretted having created man on earth, perceiving that the original goodness of his creation had been deeply distorted. In the midst of this darkness, Noah stands out as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked with God. These descriptions not only highlight his righteousness and moral integrity but also his deep relationship with God, differentiating him from his contemporaries. Noah is presented as a man of great faith, obedient to God, whose life reflected the values and principles that the rest of humanity had abandoned. These virtues made him deserving of divine trust and positioned him as a key instrument in God's redemptive plan for creation. God, observing the extent of wickedness on the earth, decides to put an end to all flesh. However, in his justice, God also sees Noah's righteousness and decides to save him, his family, and a remnant of creation through him. Noah's choice is not only due to his personal righteousness but also his willingness to serve as a vehicle for divine grace and mercy. Noah is informed by God about the coming destruction and receives specific instructions for building an ark that would serve as a refuge for him, his family, and pairs of all terrestrial animal species. The divine instruction to build an ark is one of the most emblematic moments in Noah's life. This command not only demonstrates God's trust in Noah but also underscores the seriousness with which God addresses sin and his commitment to the preservation of life. God provides Noah with detailed instructions for the construction of the ark, a massive vessel intended to save Noah, his family, and representatives of all terrestrial animal species from the imminent flood. The dimensions of the ark are specifically mentioned in the Bible: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, approximately 137 meters long, 23 meters wide, and 14 meters high, using the traditional cubit as a measure. Noah is instructed to build the ark with gopher wood, a type of wood not specified in the scriptures but believed to be resistant to water and decay. Additionally, he was to apply pitch inside and out to waterproof it, and build within the ark various compartments, a side door, and a roof with a window for ventilation and light. The design of the ark, according to divine instructions, indicated a concern for both the safety of its occupants and its functional viability throughout the flood. The dimensions and features of the ark suggest it was built not only to float during the flood but also to house a vast array of animal species, along with the necessary supplies for their survival. The ark was a masterpiece of divine engineering, designed to withstand the most adverse conditions and fulfill its purpose of life preservation. The construction of the ark by Noah and his family was an act of unshakable faith and obedience to God, amidst a society that, according to tradition, mocked their efforts and warnings. Noah also had to prepare sufficient supplies to feed his family and the animals during the flood. The Bible narrates how animals arrived at the ark in pairs, of each species, after their kind, to be saved from the flood. This miraculous event not only shows God's sovereignty over creation but also emphasizes the importance of each form of life in the divine plan. The narrative of the flood in the Bible not only represents an act of divine judgment but also a manifestation of grace and the promise of renewal. This catastrophic event would mark a before and after in the history of humanity and in the relationship between God and His creation. The flood was triggered by God's deep sorrow at the widespread wickedness on the earth. The Bible describes how all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, beginning 40 days and 40 nights of incessant rain that would cover the earth. This flood sought not only to eradicate wickedness but also to purify and prepare the world for a new beginning. According to the Scriptures, the waters prevailed upon the earth for 150 days, a period during which all terrestrial life forms not protected by the ark were wiped from existence. Life on the ark during the flood represented an unprecedented challenge for Noah, his family, and the animals. Noah, at 600 years old, was in charge of a divine task: to care for and keep alive all the species aboard. The Bible does not detail the daily activities within the ark, but it can be inferred that Noah and his family were occupied with feeding and caring for the animals, maintaining order and hygiene within the ark, and possibly making observations and prayers. This time inside the ark was a period of intense dependence on God, demonstrating Noah's faith and resilience in the face of the most adverse circumstances. After the floodwaters receded, Noah sent out a raven and then a dove to explore the condition of the earth. The dove eventually returned with a fresh olive leaf in its beak, a sign that the waters had subsided and that life was beginning to resurge on the earth. Finally, God instructed Noah to exit the ark with his family and the animals, marking the end of the flood. This moment not only symbolized Noah's survival against a divine judgment but also the beginning of a new era for humanity and creation under God's promise never to destroy the earth with a flood again. After the flood, the relationship between God and humanity enters a new phase, marked by the establishment of a covenant that symbolizes the divine promise never to destroy the earth again with water. This covenant establishes an important precedent in the biblical narrative, being the first of its kind between God and humanity. Upon exiting the ark, one of Noah's first actions was to build an altar to the Lord and offer burnt offerings with some of the clean animals and birds that had been preserved in the ark. This act of worship and gratitude was well received by God, who found the aroma of the sacrifices pleasing. Through this gesture, Noah demonstrated his devotion and acknowledgement towards God for his salvation and that of his family, establishing a model of worship and sacrifice that would be followed by future generations. In response to Noah's faithfulness, God establishes a covenant with him and his descendants, as well as with all living creatures that were with him in the ark. This covenant was characterized by several key promises: that there would never again be a flood to destroy the earth and that the seasons and natural cycles would continue uninterrupted. This divine agreement was established as an everlasting commitment, marking a turning point in the relationship between God and His creation. Through this covenant, God not only reaffirmed His mercy and grace towards humanity but also instituted a principle of human responsibility in the care of creation. As a tangible sign of this covenant, God set the rainbow in the clouds, promising that whenever it appeared, it would be a reminder of His covenant with Noah and with all forms of life on the earth. The rainbow, with its beauty and appearance after the rain, would serve as a perpetual reminder of the divine promise of protection and of the renewed relationship between God and His creation. This symbol has become a universal representation of hope and promise, underscoring the unchanging and faithful character of God. After the flood and the establishment of the covenant with God, Noah's life enters a new stage characterized by the reconstruction and reestablishment of humanity and nature. This period marks not only the continuation of human existence on earth but also the beginning of a renewed relationship between God and His creation. Noah and his family faced the challenge of rebuilding their lives in a world drastically transformed by the flood. As the first post-Diluvian farmers and livestock breeders, they had to adapt to a changed environment, planting crops and raising animals that had been saved in the ark. Noah, in particular, is mentioned in the Bible as a man of the soil and the first vineyard owner, planting a vineyard. This effort not only reflects Noah's resilience and determination to restore agricultural life but also his crucial role in re-establishing agricultural practices for the survival and well-being of future generations. One of the most humanizing episodes in Noah's post-flood life is his drunkenness after consuming wine from his own vineyard. This incident, which led to his nakedness and a shameful situation with his son Ham, reveals human vulnerability and imperfections, even in a man as righteous and obedient as Noah. This episode has been interpreted in various ways over time, but essentially, it underscores the continuity of the human condition, susceptible to error and sin, even after divine judgment and the renewal of the earth. Noah's descendants, through his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, are fundamental to the repopulation of the earth and the spread of humanity across the world. Each of his sons and their respective families would settle in different regions, giving rise to the nations of the known world. Through them, Noah becomes a common ancestor of all humanity, and his legacy extends to the multiple cultures and peoples that would arise after him. Noah's blessing to Shem and Japheth, and his curse on Canaan, Ham's son, would have lasting implications in subsequent biblical narratives and in the conceptualization of relationships between the peoples of the ancient world.